Hello, English 101 students. I wanted to make a quick video, just kind of going over your paper that I want you to avoid. And this video aims to demonstrate how that's accomplished. So what I would like to do is, hang on, switch to screen share so you guys can see me put together an outline like this. Also, in addition to this, it's a good idea to take a look at the sample arguing essay, which you can find in the modules tab for both online and brick and mortar classes. Okay, so I'm going to use a topic that we can't use anymore in our papers, but will work for this outline. Okay, so I used to do smoking laws in the days before, smoking was pretty much outlawed in public places. But since it pretty much is illegal everywhere, with the exception of a few places, I'm going to go ahead and do this topic. So here's our overall topic. Of course, we're doing a outline. We have to think of an introduction and a thesis. Now, my main point is going to be that smoking should be made illegal It costs millions in unpaid healthcare bills And what else? I like my Oxford comma. And could be put to better use. Now, I'm already self-editing because the farmland thing is probably not going to be my strongest argument. So let's go ahead and put that first. And reorganize it. Okay. So as we remember from the thesis statement PowerPoint, thesis statement is going to suggest the organization of the paper. So we would expect this paper to be about the farmland, unhealthy, and the cost. But one thing I also want to make sure that I'm doing in my introduction is outlining the topic. By the end of the introduction, the reader needs to know clearly what your stand is on the issue and what issue you're going to be talking about. Those two things have to be clear, the issue and your take on it. So in our first body paragraph, if we're following the suggested outline that we have here, to better use. So we could talk about things about global population, starving kids in developing countries, and I don't know, making sure Americans are fed, because of a lot of the world's tobacco is grown in the United States. Now, we have to have the whole issue in consideration when we're putting this together, and something that you have to think of with this issue, and this is kind of a tricky one to argue, that's why I'm using it as an example and not letting you write on it yourselves, is if we were to make smoking illegal, you have millions of people in this country who are addicted to a drug that by many associations, and if I was writing this essay, I'd have to find some research on it, to be more addictive than heroin. So you can't just cut those people off cold turkey. So we're addressing part of the opposing argument, and we want to do it fairly early on in the paper. So, for example, for period of, if you want tobacco, okay, so think about this. How would this encourage people to quit? We can use this as a launching point for our own arguments. If we say, if you want to have tobacco, and you wouldn't use the second person in here, so I should write that better. At whom? Explain why this would encourage people to quit. Okay, so this would definitely, if you want tobacco, you can grow it at home, but you would have less supply, it'd be a bigger pain in the butt. Most people, I would think, would probably quit smoking. But that's thinking about and addressing the opposing opinion. And then another thing we can do is we can start off our next argument, which is about how it's unhealthy, by using an opposing argument as a launching point. Some might argue, in order to, keep tobacco mostly legal, you might argue, well, it's a personal freedom. If somebody chooses to smoke, they're only damaging themselves. Well, there's examples are illegal because they are very unhealthy. Okay, so let's take these two at a time. There are plenty of things that are unhealthy, cocaine or heroin, for example, that are so unhealthy the government makes them illegal. You can make an argument, and I would here if I was writing this paper, that, hey, cigarettes are harmful enough the government should make them illegal for the overall health of the populace. And then we can also talk about secondhand smoke. Now, part of the reason that I took this away as a topic is more often than not, the secondhand smoke argument came down to people thinking that cigarettes smell bad, and flatulence smells bad. It doesn't necessarily have to be illegal, and because of that, the paper didn't work for a lot of students. But in this case, you can make an argument that secondhand smoke over a period of time is unhealthy. If you smell one cigarette, it's not going to give you cancer. But you could discuss long-term exposure to cigarette smoke and how it does affect people's health that aren't smokers. In addition to that, we can then start talking about, now that we've talked about secondhand smoke and things proven that there's other things illegal that are unhealthy, we can discuss how unhealthy cigarettes are. Notice how we use the opposing argument. People have personal freedom. We're refuting it. We're going against it by saying it's illegal. Or there's other things that are illegal, talking about secondhand smoke and so on, that affects others. And then we can discuss how unhealthy cigarettes are, tobacco, how unhealthy tobacco is, because we'd be talking about chewing tobacco here as well. And then finally, in our last body paragraph, costs millions of dollars in healthcare because of smoking. And then our conclusion. But something I want to emphasize here is, notice how we addressed opposing arguments in the first two, but in the second, or this third one right here, we didn't address the opposing argument. We're just focusing on using a convincing argument on our side of the issue, which is what we want to do because we want to leave the reader thinking about our ideas and our thoughts, and not even remotely thinking about the opposition, because that's how it's going to create an effective logical argument, but also ethical argument, appealing through our good character. So make sure that yes, you want to address the opposing argument, but you say that last argument, which should be your best if possible, and just focus on your arguments. All right, well, I hope this video was helpful to you, to kind of give you an idea of how to outline a paper, and put together an argumentative paper. If you have any questions, please let me know, but also I can't recommend enough. In most semesters I have an arguing essay extra credit, but I can't emphasize enough, use this as kind of a model. This is a skeleton outline, and a full outline would be longer, but use this as a model for how you put together your paper. And then also take a look at the sample arguing essay, because it's a good example as well. All right, again, if you have any questions, please let me know, and good luck on your papers.